Yeah, I'm the commercial marketing director, but also within the Food Industry Centre, I'm responsible for the research group. So that's why I'm going to talk today. Yeah, I'm not sure how many of you have got one of these, a little bit of plastic. It's not a pregnancy testing kit, it's not a COVID test, it's a fridge thermometer. This has the potential to save you hundreds of pounds a year in preventing wasted food, back to Chris's point. But more importantly, it's got the potential to stop you and your family from getting food poisoning. And I just want to touch on this piece of research that some colleagues have conducted in the last year or so. Now, food safety is a really important part of the food industry. My background is industry. I'm from supermarkets, from manufacturers. And there, if a company came to me when I used to work for Tesco's and said, I want to supply you with product X, my first and often only question was, can you prove that the food you manufacture is safe? And if the answer was no, then it was quite a short meeting. According to the World Health Organization, citizens are advised to keep food at a safe temperature. Within the UK, the food agencies are a little bit more prescriptive, and they recommend that food is kept between 0 and 5 degrees Celsius. And I'm not a scientist. I know there are a number of very clever scientists in the room today, but my understanding is that above 5 degrees centigrade, foodborne bacteria starts to flourish, and that's the food bacteria that causes food poisoning, which we obviously don't want. Now, the industry is really, really good at controlling food safety, spend millions of pounds on it, and has to because of the scale. So if you've not worked in the industry, it's difficult to grasp just how enormous these organisations are. But Tesco's has a turnover of about 62 billion. The Welsh GDP is about 80 billion. So Tesco's is in effect a small country. And so if they suffer from food poisoning, which sadly they are at the moment because of E. coli in pre-packed sandwiches, the implications are quite serious. So within the industry, it's a fairly well-controlled, regulated space. But outside of the industry, once the product gets home, into our fridges, into our kitchens, suddenly it becomes a more laissez-faire environment, less regulated environment. And that's some of the research that we've been doing. The smart people amongst you would have realised that 0 to 5 is also the name of our brand, and that's a deliberate attempt by us to try and raise the profile of the importance of that 0 to 5 temperature range to ensure that people are storing the food at the right temperature. We work with about 150 food companies a year. We help them make food safe. We help them to comply with regulations. We help them make sure that any NPD that they're doing complies with the necessary food requirements set by FSA and other accreditation bodies. But we've also got a team of researchers that conduct research in various areas where we manufacture, we produce, we consume, we serve food. And so currently we have 7 PhD students researching a range of areas such as using AI to improve hand washing protocols in food factories. We're looking to improve food safety management culture in the food service sector, so cafes, restaurants, areas like that. We have a colleague conducting food safety improvements, we can't use that word, but food safety improvements in hospital catering, because clearly an important area to get food safety right. And we also have a student who's researching food safety advice that's provided by home meal delivery kits, people like HelloFresh and Gusto. So how to improve the in-home experience of those products. Now, my colleague, Dr. Ellen Evans, many of you will know Ellen, really talented researcher, fantastic colleague. She's a reader in food safety behaviour, currently on holiday, or else Ellen would be stood here talking about this research. Ellen has conducted a number of studies looking at domestic fridge temperatures, both self-responding from citizens, and also she's gone into homes and actually used quite sophisticated thermometers to evaluate the temperature of the fridges actually in people's kitchens. A really important piece of research, because I hinted at earlier, it's the missing piece of the jigsaw. We understand manufacturing, we understand retail, all that stuff, but what goes on in the kitchen, domestic kitchen, is a little bit more difficult to understand. So last summer, Ellen and colleagues, thanks to RIS funding, did a small citizen science project, and we distributed over 1,000 fridge thermometers to people. We had exactly 201 responses, and the responses were mainly just photographs sent to us of this and what temperature their fridges were at, which was quite revealing and a little bit scary. So 90% of the people that responded didn't currently have a way of measuring their fridge temperature. So in effect, they're playing Russian roulette with the chilled food they're storing. So 9 out of 10 people not having a way of measuring the accuracy of their fridges. Now, 71% of those fridges were actually operating above 5 degrees centigrade, which not ideal, and 37% were actually had a fridge operating above 10 degrees centigrade, which is really not ideal. And one very brave character had a fridge at 20 degrees centigrade. So either, I'm going to say it was probably a he probably had his fridge door open or just forgotten to switch it on. So, real concerns there. So 90% of people didn't have a way of measuring their fridge temperature before this little experiment. There was one bright spot, and that we automatically responded to people that informed us that their fridges were operating outside of those optimal temperatures. And 28% of those people subsequently sent us a second photograph to prove that they were now compliant. So we did, some good came of that. Now, we're keen not just to do nice little bits of research, but also to raise the profile of this research. So to coincide with World Food Safety Day on 7th of June, we put out a press release, got some coverage for it in media, so Metro, which for colleagues is really important. They're passionate about trying to educate and inform people about the importance of complying with things as simple as the optimal fridge temperature. So we're concerned because the cost of living crisis means that some people are looking to save electricity costs. We've experienced people switching off fridges, perhaps reducing or increasing the temperature by default. So, this is a simple piece of research, but it's quite alarming in terms of what it tells us. If that's representative of the UK, 9 out of 10 people currently do not know whether or not their food is being stored at the right temperature. If you're a healthy person with no underlying health conditions, food poisoning is not fun. If you have got underlying health conditions, it really is quite serious. And the 2 fatalities that have occurred recently because of the E. coli in the pre-packed sandwiches, unfortunately, both of those were with people who had underlying health issues. So, in management business, we have a saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And this is a really good example. If you can't measure the temperature of your fridge, you have no way of actually managing the safety of the food that you're storing in the fridge. So please, if you go home tonight, and if you haven't got a posh smeg with a temperature telling you with the thermometer telling you the temperature inside, please get a fridge thermometer. They cost about £5. Really could save you hundreds of pounds in wasted food, but more importantly, it could save you from getting food poisoning. And last final plea, and if Ellen was here, she'd make this more passionately than me. If you have people in your household or friends or relatives who do have underlying health issues and they don't have one of these, please get them one, because it could play an important role in preventing them from getting food poisoning. Thank you.